Hi, I'm Jamie. This is Dead Dodge Garage, and this is still Stone Soup. If you don't know anything about this project, well, at this point you don't have an excuse because I've already done 2 other videos on it. At the end of the last installment, I was trying to remove the 2 halves of the broken torsion bar and install this new one, which I robbed from the Dart Sport project. So, let's do that, I guess. Up, periscope. Oh yeah, in case you were wondering, it's sunny today. The comments on the last installation were what I'd call interesting. You know, a lot of people get what we're doing here. A lot of people think this thing is at least vaguely interesting. Many people think it's hideous. Okay, I see that. And a bunch of people think this car is scrap metal. So I just want to take a moment to point out, this thing's actually like super solid. And yeah, it's kind of scraped to hell. Okay, maybe not super solid. I mean, there's moss growing out of it in places, so that's not great. But look at this trunk floor. Look at this quarter panel. Yeah, this side's not so great. But other than that, this thing is way more solid than a lot of cars people start with. Take this horrible thing over here, for example. I just bought like a couple grand worth of sheet metal for this pile, and I'm not even done. Yes, it needs floors, but that's pretty common with rubber mat cars. The Llama Barn Valiant, when we got it, was way worse than this thing. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I'm just saying. And you heard the 225 slant 6 behind this horribly smashed grill. Yeah, it needs the carburetor gone through some more. And like a proper tune, you know, might be a nice idea. But it runs pretty smoothly. It sounds decent, mechanically speaking. It needs a lot. There's no question of that. But I'm just saying, like, it's not that bad. It's just horribly smashed on like every panel and has already been rebuilt at least once. So what I'm trying to say is it's basically the perfect Dead Dodge Garage project. This is a torsion bar removal tool. It's pretty simple in its operation. You clamp it around the torsion bar, tighten the bolts down, and then smack it with a hammer. So let's give that a shot. Of course, we're gonna have to do this twice because the torsion bar is in 2 pieces. I am gonna leave the passenger side bar alone. It's fine. Totally fine. And the bar we're putting in is also from a slant 6 car, so it should match in diameter. I may go ahead and include the other bar just in case someone's worried about that down the line. Seriously, the way this thing wobbles around, I thought it would just come out. But no. Note the exhaust is right in the way of this. Okay. All right. Okay. There you go. There are much larger versions of these tools as well. I like this little one. It fits into goofy spots like this really easily. One hit. Nice. Ugh. Brought all the grease with it. There's half a torsion bar. That has been broken for a long, long time. It's cool. Now we're gonna do the same thing with this section, which is very well jammed in the control arm. I did have an idea. Before I pull it, I'm gonna see if I can use it to turn the torsion bar arm up there. If not, that's okay. I might just have to loosen the pin. Yep. All right then. This is how we used to do this. Vice grips. Not as effective. Also, I don't know if you can tell, but the whole arm is just dancing around. Because the bushing, and probably the strut rod bushing, probably the ball joint, totally shot. Whose idea was this? Time to go Arthur Brown on this thing. That smells delightful. Why? Oh, yeah. There's no bushing in there, like at all. Time to get nasty. doesn't want to come out. Fire. Suddenly I'm hungry. I'm sure this will work eventually. Maybe I should get the big torch. This is amazingly bad. Hey! I got the arm returned. Brother, I wasn't asking. Can't be tight if it's a liquid. All right, that might do something. Come on now. Fire's your friend. Hey, don't touch that. I think it's hot. Also, I gotta get this car out of here. It is completely ruining my shop floor. Still smoking. Nice. Anyway, as you can see, through all that beating, I managed to get the arm moving. So now it's down against the adjustment bolt, give or take. Well, not quite. But anyway, it should be close enough to install the new bar. That's the good news. I am gonna apply some grease here and at the back as well, and we'll tap it home. Now, in theory, these bars should work either way, and it shouldn't really matter which direction you install them. But the word on the street is once they've been installed one direction, you should keep them that direction. I always mark the front of the bar when I take them out, and I even mark which side is which. So we're going to install the left torsion bar out of the Dart Sport into the left of the Lancer, and we're going to put it in the way it came out. Nice. Got to slide the boot over the new bar. That'll be fun. Don't lose it. Hey, little guy. Got it on there. It was terrible. That rubber's all dried out. And so is this nasty old grease. Oh, speaking of nasty old grease, a quick aside. A couple people over the last couple years have asked me why I use these nitrile disposable mechanics gloves. Is it because I'm afraid of grease? No. When I became a professional mechanic, washing my hands 17 times a day was bad. My skin started turning to hamburger. So I began using these things. And they're great. But why don't you just use mechanics gloves? Well, I do for certain jobs, but for a lot of jobs, these don't give you the finesse that the nitrile does. And when you grab something horrible like that with your mechanics gloves, you might as well just throw them away. These gloves you rip off, grab a new pair, and you're good to go. Okay, the bar's fed through the cross member. It's hanging out here where it needs to go. Let's see how close this opening is. You rotate it until it slots into the back, and yeah, then it quickly becomes apparent that you're nowhere near lined up with the flats up here. So I'm going to back the adjustment bolt out a bit more. I'm going to grab a pry bar, and I'm going to pry this arm in here down a little bit farther, and hopefully we can get it far enough down that the bar will slide in. This can be very tricky and very annoying, and often it involves a lot of profanity. Like so many other operations in the shop. Nope, not even close. Okay, gotta loosen the adjuster more. Nice. Yes. Kind of. Sort of. You know, in certain situations, a hammer is a pry bar. Oh, it's so close now. Very, very close. This is always the tough part of installing your torsion bars. If you're trying to beat them into the control arm up here and they're not going, stop and twist this arm down some more. Especially when you rebuild the front end, you're gonna have to adjust from where you were when you took it out. Well, let's give that a go. Now you can see the bar sticking out here at the back. You don't really want to just start wailing on that with a sledgehammer because, of course, you can mushroom it out and it may not go into its socket. So you want to use a drift or something else soft. I've used a wood block to get them started. But anyway, okay, that may have started. See, it's moving forward. Nice. So I have the adjuster loose enough It magically twisted the socket up there right into position. And we'll tap it home. Beautiful. I gotta tell you, that is often way harder than I just made it look. I figured with the camera rolling, it would be the hardest ever, but it kind of just went in. Now I'll grab the clip, reinstall that in the groove here, and we'll be all done. Note the bar did end up pretty far forward. That can vary a lot based on your control arm's position. Note this bar is almost all the way back against the clip, but it's firmly seated in the socket here. Here's the control arm to K-frame gap on the passenger side. And here it is on the driver's side. As you can see, much tighter. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot I can do about it. I can take a pry bar and try and slide that control arm back, but because the lower bushing is basically shot, it's not gonna stay where I put it. A front end rebuild would be really ideal here. I think I mentioned that. As mentioned again, front end rebuild, not my problem here. I'm just trying to get this thing so it'll drive kinda sorta down the road, but mostly onto a trailer to go away. So we'll snug the adjuster down, try and get it pretty even with the other side, and then we'll move on. And here's how you do that if you don't really care about where it ends up. Close. Okay. I'm just aiming to make the bolts look even here. It's highly unlikely this car is gonna sit level. And the front end's gonna need to come apart again anyway, so not that important. I wanna point something else out while I'm thinking about it here. Several commenters said, why on earth would you even agree to do this? That thing's way too far gone. Well, think about what I agreed to here. I didn't agree to fully restore this car. I agreed to get it running and moving, and I've already done that, so. The beauty of this Stone Soup project is everyone involved can do as much or as little as they want to, as they can, and then send it on to the next guy. And hopefully at the end of that chain, it'll be most of a car. But no one person has to fully restore this thing. I think it's a really neat idea. I just hope it works out the way we plan. Do you think this horribly dry rotted brake hose could be part of the brake problem? Maybe. Yes, definitely. This hose has been replaced. Not recently or anything, but it's definitely not original. And I know that because it looks different. It's not all super cracked, and it's out of its little guide bracket. So that would be why this one kind of sort of does something. The rear hose actually doesn't look as bad as I expected. Oh dear. Gonna have to go ahead and add differential overhaul to the list. It's possible the yoke has just come loose. Most of this fluid actually looks like it might be coming from in here, but yeah, the whole pinion moves, so that's gonna have to be addressed at some point. I gotta put this thing on the ground before I find anything else I don't want to. And before I hit my head again, I'm getting really tired of that. There it is. Your first look at Stone Soup on 4 good springs. And a half flat tire again, but that's okay. Man, people seriously do not get what we're doing here. Just moments ago while I'm working on this thing, I got another comment on the last video that said, many old vehicles are worth resurrecting. That Lancer is not one of them. I don't even understand that viewpoint. It was free. It was free. Everything I've put in the car so far, other than like a gallon of gas, was also free. Like, yeah, it's worth it. No, it's not worthy of a full show car restoration, but it's worth saving. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but they're not exactly building more classic American cars. So let's keep saving them. Oh, I forgot. I did spend like $30 on points condenser and a coil and a spare belt, but everything else was free. I might have solved our radiator problem. Neither my brother or I have any idea where this late radiator came from. It's not the one out of the Dart Sport. That one's a couple inches wider and much thicker. This one's just kind of hanging around. It's a slant 6 rad, 19-inch wide or whatever. It does have the big brackets that put it in place of a 22-inch one, so I'll have to cut those off and reuse the original Lancer brackets, but this would probably work. We would have to flip the upper hose over to the other side, which is okay because this hose is terrible and disintegrating anyway. I almost donated this. It's the American-made aluminum radiator I took out of the garbage can that never needs to go back in there. But it's way too wide, and we'd have to cut a whole bunch more radiator support out to fit it. I'm not doing that. Well, we're back in the Holley 1920. My favorite. Fun fact, the main body there that's held in with some Phillips screws, those Phillips screws, that was loose. So that's cool. Anyway, you see that hole there that's like clogged solid? Pretty sure that's the accelerator pump discharge, so that could explain some stuff. How much carb cleaner was supposed to be in my eye? Got all the chunks out of the air bleeds, got the pump discharge cleared out and working. I think we're okay. This diaphragm looks a little frumpy, but I think it's intact. I hope it is, because I don't have another one. So we'll give it a shot. This hole is a vent on the backside of the diaphragm. There should never be fuel there. I'm guessing there was fuel there because the outlet was blocked and it's got to go somewhere. The diaphragm may well be torn. We'll find out. Hopefully it stops spewing everywhere. And if it doesn't, I guess I'll order a rebuild kit. I guess. Yeah, I suppose loose screws could also let gasket on the wrong side of the diaphragm. That and that obviously ruined gasket that I'm leaving in place. As I'm doing this, I'm thinking about another comment on the last video. Someone said, why don't you rebuild that carb and clean the bowl and the float out? Did you watch the video or no? I am so disgusted with myself. I just tore the bowl gasket. After all that hard work. All I wanted to do was clean it out a little bit better, but no. I think I'm going to get away with it, but still really disappointing. I did as stupid as I was reinstalling the carb for the second time and accidentally winged the clip for the choke rod off into who knows where. I did go ahead and take the entire carburetor back off just to make sure it wasn't underneath it in the intake, and it's not. It's just gone. The only one I can find is backwards, so for now, I guess we just don't have that feature. I did clamp the fuel line, though, so there's that. Well, it's not clamped enough, but it's a nice idea. Hey, just so everybody knows, it sticks at full throttle, so don't do that. Leak check. Oh, need more hands. Would you just... Thank you. So far, so good. But how's our accelerator pump situation? It works! Look at all that fuel. And as I hoped, now that it has somewhere to go inside the carburetor, it's not spewing out. Let's try for Stone Soup's first decent cold start. I think I'm hearing an intermittent miss, so we may need to look into that. Oh. What? Oh. Apparently the wire I have powered up is ignition 2, not ignition 1 at all. Well, it's not this one. This one does nothing. That does help to explain what happened to those ignition points. They don't want to run on full 12. You really need the ballast resistor in effect, and it wasn't. I ruined this connection because, yeah. Oh, the spade fell into the resistor. Oh, I understand now. Whoever did this excellent custom ignition wiring did not understand the difference between ignition 1 and ignition 2, and they spun them all together. No way. No way. Brother, we've got a light. We've got 2 lights. Not so much on the right side, but still. Awesome. Oh, it's doing the thing. The rear right doesn't do anything, and this one might have a bad ground. But it's something. Come on. Well, it was a nice idea. I only just noticed how cool this shape is. It's like a rocket. Next on the list of things I can't believe, if you couldn't tell already, I've got the accessory circuit powered up. I just twisted the wiper switch real fast, and this arm started moving. So maybe it does just need blades. Okay, how about we get real greedy and go for headlights. Oh, come on. Just a little bit broken. Yeah. Oh, okay. No way. What was that everybody was saying about this car being too far gone and too big of a project? No running lights, but hey. Dead running lights could be as simple as a blown running light fuse in here, bad circuit, hacked up wiring somewhere, or just set headlights, which is bad. That would be no surprise. Oh, this thing had a CB at some point. That's cool. Right, that's what the hole was for. Oh yeah, there's a hole in the roof. I just had a great idea. Oh, ow. Everything's in the way. Yes! It's still a little smashed there. Okay, I'm grabbing for glory. But I have to get in the back seat, so I'm wearing some PPE. which I never do. And by the way, if you lean on the roof, it just pops back in. Let's see if we can fix it, or at least improve it. Oh, I was back here. How is stuff still getting in my eyes? I got a better idea. Hang on. Okay. Got something. Oh, absolutely disgusting. Yes. Maybe. Does that do something? I can't tell. It falls back down. The horrors above this headliner. How about this? Okay. That's something. What is this? Peanut butter? Oh. Don't eat that. Bad idea. It's still really bad. Where's the worst of it? Yeah, it won't stay up. Oh, here we go. Listen, it is better. But at what cost? Okay, quick explanation to everybody what I did here. These wires are accessory and ignition. Up here on that ignition side, there are two blue wires tied together. I did not include the brown wire. The brown wire is the one that bypasses the resistor and puts full voltage to the coil. We can't have that. Now, I was wrong before. Because the blue was connected in here, the pump was being powered directly, and that's fine. It wasn't being powered through the resistor. But this was bypassing the resistor to power up the coil. We can't leave it that way. We'll fry the points and maybe heat up the coil too, which would be bad. Someone down the line is going to install an ignition switch. If we use a generic style ignition switch like you can buy at the parts store, we won't be able to tie in this brown wire. This brown wire is the ignition 2 circuit. It's there to jump straight key power all the way to the coil for easier starting. If we try to tie this in with, say, the starter feed, when you release the key, the starter will be backfed from the blue wire through the resistor to this brown wire to the starter, and the starter can end up hanging engaged. That ain't good. Now, we could put a diode in line. That could work, but for our purposes, I'm pretty sure just running this blue wire for the ignition off of that switch will work just fine. The other option, of course, get an actual Chrysler ignition switch with a separate feed for ignition 2. That would work great. I gave that wire a haircut, so hopefully it won't become a horrible short behind the dash too. Now I'm just gonna feed everything back in there, and we'll have our key hanging right out of the hole here. Okay, I know this is getting way too fancy, but I did replace the battery feed with that female spade with a covered plastic one. That way this can't just bounce around and run into metal and catch on fire. So here's how you start it. You put the dingus into the other bit, and then you take your starter wire and you just kind of jam it in there. Nice. Not bad. Not the greatest, but not bad. I think I need to advance the timing again. I would feel like a total moron if I hacked this radiator up just to find out it wouldn't fit. So anyway, I started cutting. I am so good at that. It's a beautiful job. It works! It's working! Still don't know where that one came from, but it might have been in the running to install in the garbage can. Guess it's not now. But does it clear the hood? No! Almost. I'm working on it. Nobody's gonna know. How would they know? How would they know? Well, I think I got the radiator situation sorted, but the gas tank, a little too tall. Here's a look at the underside of the hood. Compare that latch position to the opening there for the radiator cap. We're pretty close to it now. It might still be a little far over to passenger, but it's pretty good. Note the radiator's sitting at an angle. That puts it straight in line with the fan. The amount of time I have into straightening this and those, Absolutely insane, and it still all fits together really badly. This thing is very crunched. Did I mention that? If I had the technology to braze handy, which I don't, I could probably just braze these onto this radiator at the top and bottom and call it a day. But instead what I'm going to do is very poorly weld these old radiator brackets onto the now cut side brackets on this thing. These are steel, this is steel. It'll work fine. I just need something to hold this thing together and keep it from flying into the fan. If you've watched the channel for a while, you know I'm truly a brilliant welder and fabricator. So we don't need to take a close look at my welds. Just take my word for it, these brackets are attached. I definitely don't want to talk about this one. It's curved that way, and I meant to like put it in at the top, but that didn't happen. Anyway, it's definitely gonna work, so that's the good news. I just hope I didn't put any holes in it. As funny as that would be. We're all cool, right? Everybody be cool. We have a radiator, but it's attached to the car with self-drilling screws. I refuse to feel bad. Yeah, I mean, the flex is in the actual radiator support, so that ain't going nowhere. So now we got to figure out hoses. But I'm thinking first we figure out this. The water neck's like just packed full of muck. You can kind of see the thermostat. That's cool. Kind of working. There we go. Come on. The upper hose hookup's on the wrong side for this thing. So I found a random used small block upper hose. Listen, it's not ideal, but it's on there. Proof of concept. Somebody replace that too. Oh, I did also have to change out the lower hose for the one off of that Dart Sport. While I'm thinking about it, let's all give a collective thanks to Dylan, the owner of that Dart Sport over there, because a bunch of his parts went to make all of this happen. They were gonna end up in my collection of fine junk. Anyway, I'm just saying. Thanks. Place your bets now on where liquid starts pouring out of first. You'll notice I still have a heater hose disconnected. That's for burping purposes. You'll also notice I'm starting with water, which I don't usually do. But in this case, I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a leak somewhere. Might be fine. Yeah, called that one. Shocking, I know. Oh, also, yeah, I did go ahead and put a bit of used antifreeze in there. Obviously, that was a mistake. Moving out of the shop. What a good idea. Stopped dripping. I think it stopped dripping because I turned the water pump trying to start it. Forgot the carb was out of fuel and I had to rewire the pump. It's done now. It's kind of too nice. Yeah, now it's full. Maybe it's just magically fixed. All right, next on the list of unbelievable things, watch the alternator or amp gauge or ammeter when I hit the brake pedal. The brake lights work. And by brake lights, I mean, of course, probably only the left one. Are you impressed? Listen, it's something. Oh, I never reset the timing. I should do that. And then figure out why it doesn't idle. Oh, good Lord. Water pump did not magically fix itself. That's unfortunate. PB Blaster sucks. Okay, well, I don't think so. It's been a long day of almost nothing. Well, this thing's much improved, so at least there's that, but still, not exactly like 100% daily driver ready or anything. I just wasted more time than I'd ever care to admit trying to get this all freed up so we can have second and third gear. I got that moving, you know, that's great. But this centerpiece that moves between the two, I've now got it moving on the shaft, which I don't think it's supposed to do. I think that whole tube in there is supposed to move in and out, and it doesn't. And I've heated it, and I've beated it, and I've sprayed half a can of PB top and bottom, left and right, 3 times. It's just not happening. Now here's the thing. This column's cracked anyway, so it's not long for this world. But there's a job for somebody. Rebuild this column, replace this column, or convert it to a 4-shifter. Those do exist for the 3-speeds, although I'm not sure they mount onto these early transmissions. Couldn't tell you. I did have to make some mild alterations to the hood to get it to latch over that radiator. Apparently my measurements to the radiator cap were slightly off. In my defense on that one, I didn't actually measure. I moved the fuel can. It still hits a little bit, but it's better. And the hood is fully latched, so let's call that a little victory. I relocated the fuel can somewhat. It still hits a little bit, but it's an improvement. I'm gonna call it a win. Well, I think I've done all I can do here. Ah, crap, except tune the idle circuit, and now the hood's on. Let's just drive this pile. I'm bored of not driving this pile. Kinda idles. Kinda. Sometimes. There you go. Purring like a kitten sometimes. I really should have aired up the tires. That's my bad. Listen, ignore the coolant puddle. This is kind of a monumental achievement, actually. Less than a month ago, this thing was a hunk of scrap metal rotting in someone's yard. Now it's a running and driving automobile. And personally, I think that's great. There is a lot, and I mean a lot of work left to be done here. But as far as I'm concerned, for now, it's not just good, it's good enough. Sometimes the door button works. Sometimes it doesn't. That could be a problem later. But anyway, this is why we don't pick at the scabs. Yeah, but I did though. Man, it's been a long day, and I haven't eaten anything since breakfast, so I might be a little irritable. Might be time for a fresh tree. I know there's a lot of interest in this project, and a whole bunch of people have signed up to help with it. Hopefully I've set them up right here. I think so. Now I am going to include some extras. Spare belt. Nice. The coil that's still in the original coil bracket does work. There's nothing wrong with it. Starter shim. Yeah, I left that out. Those are extra. Some complimentary PB. You're welcome. The air cleaner's there. Chunk of taillight lens. Nice. One Cut Rate Auto Parts sticker. You'll be the only person in anywhere that's got one of those. I'll probably throw the ruined original radiator in here someplace. Maybe the other torsion bar, just in case. And any other goodies I can come up with that belong to this car. Man, that's gross. Yeah, anyway. Smells like coolant. What are the chances the temperature gauge works? Low. Oh, sometimes the starter doesn't want to crank from the wire here, and I don't know why. Usually it's fine. Oh, stop. Let me just adjust my mirrors here. Yeah. It runs bad. It runs really bad. Yeah, the idling, not so much. Oh, I forgot the brakes don't work. Ah! Yeah, that's not a good sound. The brakes are actually holding it. The new Bluesmobile. Oh, I have to fix that. I forgot. I don't know if it's a favorable comparison or not. Wow. They're like even at the back, and the front of the Lancer is here, and only because the hood's so pokey. What are you doing?
Dude, it's amateur hour. I can't figure out where the
thing?
Yeah.
Well, the good news is when the slant blows up, I know how to fix it. Yours just idles?
Oh, yeah.
That's not fair. Clutch. It wasn't clutch. It was one tire. Pathetic. Okay, I never did tune the idle mixture or mess with the speed or check the timing with a light or a lot of other things I probably could have done. You may have heard it kind of coughing out the intake there. Not sure if that's a valve sealing issue or a timing issue or what the deal is. It's not great. Having said that though, this thing throws rocks pretty well. Somehow it even does it with both tires sometimes. Also, it died. All right, I'm washing my hands of this. That's my part of Stone Soup done. It runs, it moves. It doesn't do either of those things very well, but it does do them. From here, I believe it's headed over to the Junkyard Necromancer in Western Montana. So make sure you go over and give him a subscribe for the next update. Okay, there is a chance that Tom at Rocket Restorations will take a crack at this thing too. We'll see. Oh, also, Scott at Heaven's Mopars, who donated this car, is going to handle some of the transportation, I think. And he's going to take another crack at working on it now that it runs. I'll keep you updated on that in a community post or something. And of course, over at Functional Histories, you can get relatively frequent updates on this project. No, you can't have my camera mount. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I kind of mostly did. Either way, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. And remember, it sucks to suck. Now, who's going to clean this awful mess? I didn't mean to throw rocks everywhere with the Lancer, but it happened. And it was awesome. Didn't mean to do that either. Maybe it is a race car.